This vacation that brought us all together, but we are so thankful that we have the opportunity to see so many of you and meet so many people that we haven't had the chance to meet before that were such an important part of Kathy's life too. So I want to go ahead and welcome up Ray to start us off. Look in this area.
Hello everybody, I'm Ray Menard. Kathy and I work together at SPC, and trying to think of what to say today has been a little bit difficult because, we went from being colleagues to really good friends. When I started at SPC, actually before I started at SPC, I got an email from Kathy, and true to Kathy form, it started out, "Hi, I'm Kathy. I'm the adjunct instructor for microbiology at St. Petersburg College. I'm sure you've heard all about me." No, I really didn't hear anything about you, but thank you. You seem nice. You seem very nice. And as in Kathy's way, the email was extremely organized. I'd like to meet with you as soon as we can. Here's some things, if you need help with this or you need help with that. She attached all the syllabus that I would need, schedules, that kind of thing. And I guess just from that first impression, it's like, wow, this person is, she's got it together. And she's willing to help. And you don't always see them. So that's good first impression. So when I started, a couple of weeks later, we met. And but she had that little hairdo, you guys know what I'm talking about, kind of cut here. So she walks in, "Hi, how are you?" I'm like, "I'm fine, how are you?" And it's like, there are people that just have a presence, and I think Kathy had. It was just, you could feel what was going on. So she's smiling, she's bubbly. As we started to talk, I realized we have a lot in common. And from day one and moving forward, our friendship just got tighter, closer, and closer. Being raised Catholic was one thing. I'm from Chicago, New York, big city. Families, pretty hard. We talked about the fact that we had to work while we were in school. Our parents would go, "Here you go. You can go to school, we'll pay for it." We had to do that. Our research interests and our educational backgrounds, almost identical. Molecular biology, microbiology, all the stuff that bores most of you, especially Mira. And I'll get to Mira later. We clicked. I guess that's the best way to say it. We just clicked from day one. And when we started getting things together for the lab, we organized a lot of things, we changed a lot of things, we worked extremely well together. I started to do some research with students about a semester afterwards. As you guys know, Kathy had her own lab right at the VA. And she said, "Hey, if you want to bring some of the students, show them what a real active research lab is like, please do." So that door was kind of open. But the more I got to know her and the more I got to think about it, a woman in science it's not uncommon, but a woman in science to achieve what Kathy achieved is unbelievable. Unbelievable. We don't really see that. First of all, to have gone through graduate school, the postdoc, having children, being pregnant, that whole thing. She had that, lucky, thank God, Tom, your support and that kind of thing. But then to establish her own lab, that's not easy to do. I don't know how I got to graduate school and it was just me. But to get that lab and to keep it functioning and then to want to teach. You can be brilliant, you can have a PhD, you can have whatever degree you want, that doesn't mean you teach. And to have the knowledge that she had, she might have been here, but her knowledge was way up here. To bring that down to a level that students could understand is amazing. That's a gift. That's a real gift that she had. And then, as I got to know her better, sometimes Kathy could be a little serious. I don't know if you'd agree with that. She could be a little serious sometimes. So to break the tension, I would find out when she was going to present or project something onto a screen in the lab. So I would take the little cord you pull down and I would put it on some hooks. So she's here, that's here. So the first time I did it, she didn't say anything. I'm like, oh, I hope I didn't piss her off. So I thought, well, I gotta try it again. I just gotta see what she's gonna do. So I waited at the back of the room. The door was open. Kathy's right on the board. And I knew she was gonna get to the screen eventually. So she put the marker down and she went. She kind of walked this way. She grabbed a yardstick. She's hopping, hitting this string. The thing comes down, and I just had to laugh, right? So she turns around and she's like, "You!" With the yardstick. I'm like, "What? I didn't do anything." But that's when you know you have a great time. It's someone you can work with, someone you share things outside of work with, personal things. You can laugh at yourself, laugh with each other, respect each other. I respected her knowledge unbelievably, and how organized she was with everything. And I was fortunate enough to actually volunteer in her lab for a summer. Fortunate and then unfortunate, because Mira happened to be working with her at the time. Oh God, but I got to work side by side with someone who had the same exact way of doing research. We complemented each other. She wanted to move her research in a slightly different direction, still cancer research, from bladder to prostate. And my area in prostate cancer research was different than what she was doing. So we collaborated. It was great because I go 2 to 3 days a week. I brought a student with me. And then we'd get together right there for lunch. We had a great time and got to know each other again more on a personal level. And I think when I think of friendships, it's got to be one of these, right? Where you balance it. It's not always one person giving. Although Kathy gave a lot, I have to admit. She helped me in a lot of situations. When the 4-year program came in, Kathy was kind of in charge of biochemistry. I was in charge of microbiology. And one thing that came to my mind in the last week, again, it's the Kathy story. Her impact on students is amazing. A lot of the students that she mentored have gone on to be doctors, pharmacists, nurses, medical technologists, and the list goes on. I mean, I've got a couple of them right over here that will tell you the impact that she had on their lives. And it doesn't get any better than that. So we, ironically, the class that we were co-teaching at the time was in Clearwater, and it was cancer biology. So what we did was we pooled our own resources from our own research work, and that's how we decided to teach the class. So one evening, we're standing outside talking before we go home, and this girl comes out the door. "Oh, Dr. Siegler, you're just so smart." And mind you, we're like this far apart, and I'm like, okay. I get it. You are so smart. You're short, but you are smart. Kind of thing. And the girl went on it. I just had to laugh because she said, "Oh, I really love how you teach biochemistry." And I thought, who the heck would think anyone would ever say, "I love biochemistry"? Nobody. But Kathy could take a discipline like biochemistry. Did you have her for biochemistry? Adam had her for biochemistry, so that's what I'm talking about. And make it understandable and applicable to what students needed to succeed. I thought that was awesome. So after, I got done hanging out over here, and the student left, I just walked over to Katherine and said, "You're so smart!" that's something over the years when things got kind of intense, just to get her to kind of decompress a little bit, I would tell her, "You're so smart, you figure it out. It's not a bad thing." We had a lot of good times outside of the lab. We get together for coffee, lunches, all other kinds of fun things. Parties at Mira, except Mira would eat all the food before we got there. That's okay. We came with our lunch boxes and that. And when COVID hit, so I have to share this because this is typical of me. And Kathy got the fact, well, yeah, I'm normally put together. I do have my quirks too. So we decided to meet up at Panera. You remember, you were eating too much. I didn't have a mask. So this was when mask mandates first started. So I'm like, all right, I am a scientist. What can I do? Well, I had a 4x4 gauze pad. And I had some twine. And I thought, well, a scientist would make their own. What a mess is all I can say. Plus it kept catching on my beard. And that, but I showed up. Adam was the first one I saw. I get out of the car and he's like staring at me. Okay, you know, Doc, my stepmother makes masks if you want one. I'm like, okay, thank you. So we go sit down. Kathy shows up. And she's kind of looking around and she talked about this clothes. And she kind of like, you know, the head turn, like you're like looking. She was checking my beautiful mask out. I was gonna market them, but I didn't. And she said, you know, Ray, I told you I was making masks. I would have made you one had I known that's what you were going to be wearing. But I say this because there are people you can be comfortable with as yourself. And Kathy was that. And with that, I think out of anything, I can tell her. I can tell her anything. She can tell me anything. She helped me. I would help her. The balance is definitely there. I respected her as a scientist. I respected her as a mother, grandmother. The story she would share when the kids got married and the grandchildren came. Oh my God! It's like you take this person, another part of her life, and she embraced them. And I saw her relax a little bit. I think when the grandchildren were born, I saw how she was. I saw how important that was, and that's beautiful when you can share that with someone, you know, and just a great thing. And then last year, or actually in 2020, again, Kathy and I actually were able to do some research together. So she had that collaboration with Pedro, this Tom knows. And again, we were in sync. It's like we're doing science. And she had everything laid out. She's like, you know, you take this, I'll take this. And it was like a week's worth of getting experiments done. And the cool thing for me is it did get published. Kathy had over 50 publications. For those of you who don't know, most people who do science, if they have one publication every 2 years, that's an accomplishment. In her career, she had just about one or two every year. Every year, not every other year, but every year. That's amazing. And I think I didn't realize it. Well, I know I didn't realize it at the time, but having my name on a paper with her now, in hindsight, really means a lot. You know, I respected her as a scientist, and to be able to do that with her was great. So. We all know what happened within the last year. You know, Mira and I were together when Kathy told us, and you don't know what to say, right? And you don't know what to do. But I feel Kathy, in her usual way, she just plowed through it. She still worked, but honest to goodness, I don't know how she did it. She had a full schedule. We worked on a special microbiology class. She was still doing it. And I'm like, how? I know. It just blows my mind. And I know when I would talk to her, Tom, she's like, Tom keeps telling me maybe I should slow down a little bit on some of this, and I'm like, well, he's right. But we all know that wasn't Kathy. That's not how she was. She wanted things. She wanted to make sure her students learned something. She did an awesome job with that. And again, I can't say enough. When we think about legacies and what we leave behind, I mean, first and foremost are the grandkids, I think, and family, friends. Her publications, and I think maybe for me it puts this in perspective too. They're out there. There are people throughout the whole world that have read her papers and still look at her papers as reference sources for the work that they're doing. That's part of what she's left for us, and I think that's awesome. So there's a lot more I could say, but I think I covered most of the highlights. Okay, so thank you guys for listening.
So Dr. Bernard really sugarcoated all this because at SBC, actually, Dr. Siegler, Dr. Bernard are known as people who make students cry. Because she demanded excellence in a very firm but gentle way, and he just because he's mean.
Okay, Mira, I'm not done yet. Wait a minute. Could I have a rebuttal?
I was saying earlier, I was just like listening to the two of you. I'm like, I haven't gotten a big opportunity to listen to you two, but I'm like, I think that their relationship is just grounded in Ray making fun of Mira and her rolling her eyes.
That's pretty much it. And the funny thing is, when we were with Kathy, that became a thing. And Adam will say, if Mira and I didn't bicker a little bit back and forth, then it wasn't a good day, you know. So, but as much as I hate to say it, I do think the world will be that. But they became very close, and I know that. And again, when you stop and you think about it, like with the three sitting here, and even that guy sitting back there. We knew them when they were in their, well, in Austin's case, 19, but early 20s. And you look at the people that they've become now. So, Kathy and I actually. Well, I was trying to be nice to you. I was going to be honest and say early 40s. You look great for 70, by the way. But it's been an honor to get to know these people and to see what outstanding people that they've become.
All right, we're going to invite Kelly up. Kelly's coming up.
I cry.
Kathy's baby sister.
Look at my
Tissue first.
I got
this.
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kelly. I'm the baby sister. And just anecdotally, not in my prepared remarks, but I had shared with Ray earlier the German work ethic, for better or for worse, is from both of our parents. And I think has spilled to our children and our grandchildren. Our parents were that very strict. We had to sit on the couch with our feet not touching the couch and sit like this. And, but there was always an expectation of excellence, but not in a mean way. So I've heard you describe this a lot. But for our own success, for our own growth and development, and we each carry that to this day. So unfortunately, you had to bear the German upbringing along with us, or fortunately, you had to bear the German upbringing. I think it helped you become stronger, better people. So my prepared remarks. So I titled this Memories of My Brilliant Sister. So as the youngest, I was probably always a little bit of a pain, and someone that Kathy always had to look after. She had the task of being the oldest and being responsible for the good and the bad and the ugly of what we did, because they would probably yell Kathy first before they yelled any one of our else's name, our parents, and that meant we were all in trouble. I remember being so excited to start kindergarten. So as you're a little fearful, what is it going to be like to go to school? Who am I going to know? What's it going to be like? And Kathy is 6 years older than me, and somehow, by chance, she was assigned to be my class monitor, one of my class monitors. So for me, that was thrilling. I knew somebody who was going to be in my class and someone who's going to watch out for me. For Kathy, she was probably like, oh, what the heck? I can't get away from this kid. But it made my transition into elementary school very easy and enjoyable. Kathy always had a special smile and a very unique, special laugh. And you can tell by the pictures, she's always laughing, always happy. But she could also be very serious and that stern German woman that she was. She's self-described science geek, and Ray and I had a conversation earlier that it's a unique person who is a true science geek, and it's sometimes hard to have relationships with other people if they're not in that headspace or interest space. But she was able to laugh at that and understand her uniqueness and carry that through to the rest of her whole life to help and influence other people. I remember as a kid we would all watch Sunday TV, and one of her favorite shows was Jacques Cousteau, and that's one of the things I think that inspired her to go into science. She originally wanted to be a marine biologist, and that was part of her inspiration into the science world. She excelled in her schoolwork even as a young woman, a young child, and for high school, she went in New York to the esteemed Bronx High School of Science versus our local high school. She was that smart at that early age. And it was super special because she got to go on a special bus. I, unfortunately, although I think I'm kind of smart, ended up at the local high school. As high school graduation approached, she had to approach my dad and ask him to help her go to college. She wanted to go to college. She had big dreams and big plans for her life to follow in the science track. And there were many, many conversations and many, many kind of, no, what are you crazy? Women don't belong in college. And that came from, again, that German work ethic. My dad was also the oldest of 5, and when he grew up, he had to help the family financially and work and pay to keep the family of 5 children and afloat and going. And he did at one point help pay for my aunt's college tuition. She did get a degree in biology, but she didn't do anything with it in my dad's mind. She became a housewife, she got married and had a wonderful family, but he resented that for pretty much his whole life, that Aunt Carol got to go to college. He didn't get to go to college. He was quite successful in his life and career, but he, unfortunately, poor man, had 5 children, 4 girls and 1 boy. So 4 girls, oh my goodness, they're just gonna get married and be housewives and, do what was normal at that time and expected at that time. But Kathy persevered. She did convince my dad to help her go to college, and like you said, had to work, right? Oh, okay, I'll help you a little bit, but you have to get a job, and he did that with all of us. If you want something, you have to earn it. You have to appreciate the value of it and learn and grow from it. So I think you're hearing a theme. As her career blossomed, she went on, moved to Florida, and built this wonderful career that you see now. When she was going to college, she met Tom, the love of her life, and they became inseparable. And as the younger kind of preteen, I distinctly remember being so excited when they would invite me to go to Jones Beach with them. And we would be driving out to Jones Beach and singing at the top of our lungs Elton John and Billy Joel songs. So, special opportunity for me, and a way to also show that compassion and, even though you're a pain in my neck, big sister, I'll take you along with me. And as we sit here, what I thought was very interesting and unique was that one of Kathy's favorite flowers was sunflower. And to honor Kathy's memory, a little lesson about sunflowers. There are a lot of interesting facts. So sunflowers always face the sun. They turn to the sun because of a specific chemical called heliotrope. Correct me if I'm wrong. So interesting in that Kathy always faced the sun, even in her adversity, even in her last days. She never really let on to any of us what she was going through. She stood strong like a sunflower and was stalwart and worked because that's how she wanted to live her life, strong and beautiful. Another interesting fun fact about sunflower is that it's really not one flower, one blossom. It's made up of about 10,000 florets in the middle, and those individual florets is what attracts pollinators to the sunflower to feed and to be nurtured. And I think that also represents Kathy in her life, taking that knowledge, and being able to distill it down, but to share it and nurture it and create the next generation of scientists, nurses, doctors, anyone else who wanted to learn, even if it was just for their own self-enrichment. So thank you all for coming and sharing this beautiful day. Please take a sunflower with you, and every time you see a sunflower, always look to face the sun. If you're facing the sun, you don't see the shadows behind you, and live your life with grace and compassion and sharing.
So Ellie just informed me she would like to say something.
I can't put it on a phone because I can't see even with reading glasses, so I have to print it out, big print. Anyway, I'm Jody. I'm one of Kathy's sisters, if you don't know who I am. And so I wanted to take a few minutes today to share with you what an enormous impact Kathy had on my life. See, family's a very funny thing. Because when you're little, your sisters and your brothers and your parents are all you know. Like, that's your unit. And there were 5 of us, and we had our own playgroup. We didn't really need friends. We had each other. We played with Barbie dolls. We rode our bikes to Crowshore Park and had picnics. We made mud pies on the side of the house, even though my mother didn't always like that. We played tag and Red Rover. In the winter, we built igloos on the front lawn. Went to Crowshore Park and moved all the snow off the pond and went ice skating and sleigh riding. And we spent our summers on the Mississippi too and had wonderful adventures up and down the coast. We didn't have computers and tablets and video games or cell phones. We just had each other and our imaginations. Our parents on Saturday would say, go out and play, be back for dinner, and then they'd lock the back door. And we'd always find something to do because there was 5 of us, and so there was a million things that we had the opportunity to keep ourselves busy with. But then when you get older, you get into your teens, you have to make your own decision on whether you still want to be friends with your brothers and sisters. Because there's nothing in the world that says you have to, and a lot of people don't. But in our family, we all became best friends by choice. Literally, they are my friends. Kathy always included me in the things that she did. And when she met Tom at Finest at the grocery store where they worked, Tom became a part of our family. It's like, wow, we have this big brother now. And Kathy couldn't have had a more wonderful person to spend her life with. They took us everywhere. Like Kelly said, we lived in Bayside. None of us knew how to drive. We didn't have a car. But when Tom came, Tom drove. So we were off to Jones Beach, Robert Moses. We went to Roosevelt Field shopping. We went to the flea markets. We went out camping on Watch Hill and told ghost stories and scared each other to death. Anywhere they went, Kathy always asked us if we wanted to come. And Tom just let us come along. After Kathy got married and moved to Pennsylvania, I went to visit them often. And once the boys were born, I was there almost every other month. A huge part of my life was so wonderful as Kathy let me be in it. I didn't get married until I was 51 maybe. I never had children. So I experienced so many things I otherwise would have never had the opportunity to do, because I was welcome to join in her family and all the activities that are associated with boys. I changed diapers, I got baby sick on me. Kathy and Tom actually let me watch their children. They trusted me that much. I got to go to T-Ball and Little League, Boy Scouts, and Friday night football. I went on vacations. We went to Lake George and Hershey, Pennsylvania, Niagara Falls, and of course Disney, because Kathy loved Disney. We all enjoyed the magic of it. When Kathy was given the job at the VA in Bay Pines to do cancer research, she and Tom and the boys moved. And all I could think about is, oh my God, they moved to Florida. So my mother and Patty and I came to visit maybe a month or two after they moved. And my mother's like, right, I'm moving. So she moved around the corner from the house that Gerard, Audrey, and the kids now live. Then Patty came, and then I came. And Kathy had an open door policy. Literally, their front door was open. You could go there anytime you wanted, play with the boys, play in the pool, do anything that they were doing. When the boys got the opportunity to travel with their French teacher to Europe, Kathy asked me to go. And I was like, this isn't my thing. My vacation is 7 days at the beach, sitting in the sun. Europe's not on my radar screen. And she goes, I think you'll really like it. I loved it. And I went on all 3 trips. And I've never looked back. And I don't think I ever would have traveled that extensively if it hadn't been for her. I got to go to Germany, I don't know where Andy is, Italy, and with Billy we went to Spain. And the one funny story about Spain is Kathy loves to drink sangria. But the thing is, in Spain, sangria is different than just red wine and fruit. Kathy and Tom and I ordered a pitcher of sangria, and I think it's probably the only time, because in Spain, it's red wine and alcohol. And I think it was probably the only time that I'd ever seen Kathy a little bit tipsy. And she actually said to the teacher, Miss Garland, you need to watch Billy for us, because the 3 of us are just like, we can't be responsible for this. Kathy was a loving wife and a devoted mother and grandmother, and she was a wonderful sister and friend. But she was also brilliant and the smartest person I ever had the honor of knowing. She literally was. She was like the go-to person. You could ask her anything. It didn't matter if it was about insurance or COVID or plumerias or some thing that you didn't feel well about. You could ask her about it. When she was young, she was a straight A student. She carried a huge heavy textbook around because you didn't have e-books then. And she had a color marker. And everywhere we go, like if we were going to a family event, Kathy had a textbook in the back of the car, and the rest of us were just sitting there. But Kathy studied all the time. another little funny story is that our dad has some mathematical calculation so that for every A you got a certain amount of money, and every B and C or whatever. Kathy always got more money than everybody else. I probably got the least because I was more on that B minus, C level student. But she strived to learn, you know, and she encouraged us to learn. Even when we were kids, she encouraged us to try to be better students. For me, that wasn't always easy because I didn't consider algebra and trigonometry and biology something that I was ever going to need in my life. That just wasn't my thing. But she did encourage us to do better in school. Education was very important to her. When she attended as Kelly said, she went to attend St. John's. Our dad really gave her a hard time. Kelly explained to you why. And I remember them sitting at the dining room table, and he didn't want to do financial aid because he didn't want anyone to know his business. And so Kathy worked at finance with Tom, and my father would eventually, begrudgingly, at the very last minute, write her a check to go to school. So for Kathy, when the boys were born, it was very important that they had the opportunity to pay for college and not have to worry about it. And so she started paying into the Florida pre-K plan so they were guaranteed that they would have the money to go to 4 years of education. And she did, and they did. And Gerard and Ann went to Flagler, and Billy went to Jacksonville, and they were all very successful thanks to Kathy and Tom's dedication. And